The complete works of Swami Vivekananda, Volume 5, Section 7, Writings, Food and Cooking. Now, here something about the Western art of cooking. There is great purity observed in our cooking than in any other country. On the other hand, we have not that perfect regularities, methods, and cleanliness of the English table. Every day, our cook first baths and then changes his clothes before entering the kitchen. He neatly cleans all the vessels and heartily with water and earth. And if he chances to touch his nose, face, or any part of the body, he washes his hand before touching again any food. The Western cooks carefully bath. Moreover, he tastes with the spoon the cooking he is engaged in and does not think much of redipping the spoon into the pot. Taking out his handkerchief, he blows his nose vigorously, and again, with the same hand, he perchance kneads the dough. He never thinks of washing his hands when he comes from outside and begins his cooking at once. But all the same, he has snow white clothes and cap. Maybe he is dancing on the dough. Why? Because he may knead it thoroughly well with the whole pressure of his body, no matter if the sweat of his brow get mixed with it. Fortunately, nowadays machines are widely in use for the task. After all this sacrilege, when the bread is finished, it is placed on the porcelain dish, covered with a snow white napkin, and is carried by the servant dressed in a spotless suit of clothes with white gloves on. Then it is laid on the table spread over with a clean tablecloth. Mark then the gloves lest the man touches anything with his bare hands. Observe us, on the other hand, our Brahmin cook has first purified himself with bath and then cooked the dinner in thoroughly clean vessels, but he serves it to you on a plate on the bare floor, which has been pasted with earth and cow dung. His cloth, albeit daily washed, is so dirty that it looks as if it were never washed. And if the plain if the plantain leaf, which sometimes serve the purpose of the plate, is torn, there is a good chance of the soup getting mixed with the moist flour and cow dung paste and giving rise to the wonderful taste. After taking a nice bath, we put on a dirty looking cloth, almost sticky with oil, and in the West, they put on the perfect clean suit on the dirty body without having had a proper bath. Now, this is to be understood thoroughly, for here is the point of essential difference between the Orient and the Occident. That inward vision of Hindus and the outward vision of the West are manifested in all their respective manners and customs. The Hindu always looks inside and the Westerns outside. The Hindu keeps diamond wrapped in a rug, as it were, and the Western preserve a lump of earth in a golden casket. The Hindu baths to keep his body clean. He does not care how dirty his clothes may be. The Western takes care of the wearing clean clothes. What matter if dirt remains on his body? The Hindu keeps neat and clean rooms, doors, floors, and everything inside his house. Whatever matter it if a heap of dirt is refuse lies outside his entrance door. The Westerner looks to cover his floor with bright and beautiful carpet. The dirt and dust under them is all right if concealed from view. The Hindu lets his drains run open over the road. The bad smell does not count much. The drains in the West are underground, the hotbed of typhoid fever. The Hindu cleanses the inside and Westerners cleanses the outside. What is wanted in a clean body and with clean clothes? Rinsing the mouth, rinsing, cleaning the teeth, and all that must be done, but in private. The dwelling houses must be kept clean, as well as the streets and thoroughfare and all outlying places. The cook must keep his clothes clean as well as his body. Moreover, the meal must be partaken of in a spotless cup and plates, sitting in a neat and tidy place. Achara or observance of the established rules of conduct in life is the first step to religion, and of that again cleanliness of body and mind, cleanliness is everything, is the most important factor. Will one devoid of achara ever attend a religion? Don't you see before your very eyes the miseries of those who are devoid of achara? Should we not, thus paying dearly for it, learn the lesson? Cholera, malaria, and plague have made their permanent homes in India and are carrying away their victims by millions. Whose fault is it? Ours. It is to be sure. We are sadly devoid of achara. All our different sects of Hinduism admit the truth of the celebrated saying of the Shruti. When the food is pure, then the inner sense gets purified. And on purifying of the inner sense, memory of the soul perfection becomes steady. Only according to the Shankaracharya, the word ahara means the sense perception. Ramanuja takes it for the means of food. But what is the solution? All sect agrees that both are necessary and both ought to be taken into account. Without pure food, how can you have indriyas, that is the organs, perform their perfect function properly? Everyone knows by experience that impure food weakens the power of receptivity of the indriyas and makes them act in opposition to the will. It is well known fact that indigestion distorts the vision of things and makes one thing appear as another, and that want of food makes the eyesight and other power of the senses dim and weak. Similarly, it is often seen that some particular kind of food brings on some particular state of body and mind. This principle is at the root of those many rules which are so strictly enjoyed in Hindu society that we should take this sort and avoid that sort of food. Though in many cases forgotten, they are essential substance, the karni. We are now busy only with quarreling about the shell and keeping watch and wars over it. Ramanuj Acharya asks us to avoid three sorts of defects which according to him make food impure. The first defect is that of the jati, the very nature, or jati, the very nature of the species of which the food belongs, like onion, garlic, and so on. These have an exciting tendency taken so and product when taken produces restlessness of mind, or in other words perturb the intellect. The next is that of the ashraya, that is the nature of the person from whom the food comes. The food coming from the wicked man will make one impure and think wicked thoughts, while the food coming from the good man will elevate one's thoughts. Then the other is good man will elevate one's thought. Then the other is nimitta, nimitta dosh, that is impurity in food due to such agents in it has dirt, dust, worms, or hair. Taking such food also makes the mind impure. Of these three defects, anyone can achieve jati and nimitta, but it is not easy for all to avoid ashraya. So we can avoid jati and nimitta but cannot avoid ashraya. It is only to avoid the ashraya dosh that we have so much of don't touchism among us nowadays. Don't touch me, don't touch me. But in most cases, is in the most cases the chart is put before the horse and the real meaning of the principles been misunderstood. It becomes in time a queer and hideous superstition. In this case, the acharas of the great the acharas of the great acharyas, the teacher of mankind, should be followed instead of the loka acharan, customs followed by the people in general. One ought to read the lives of such great master as Sri Chaitanya Dev and other similarly great religious teachers and see how they behave themselves with their fellow men in this respect. As regard to the jati dosh in food, no other country in the world furnishes a better field for it observation than India. Indians of all nations take the purest of food, and all over the world, there is no other country where the purity has regard the jati is so well observed as in India. We had better attend to the nimitta dosh a little more now in India, as it is becoming a source of serious evil with us. It has become too common with us to buy food from the sweet vendor's shop in the bazaar, and you can judge for yourself how impure these confections are from the point of view of the nimitta dosh. For being kept exposed, the dirt and dust of the roads as well as dead insects, as well as dead insects adhere to them, and how stale and polluted they must sometimes be. All the dyspepsia that you notice in the every home and the prevalences of diabetes from which the town people suffer so much nowadays are due to taking of impure food from the bazaar, and that the village people are not as a rule so subject to this complaint is the principle due to the fact that they have not this bazaar near them where they can buy at their will such poisonous food or as lochi, kachori, etc. I shall dwell on this in detail later on. This is in short the old general rule about food, but there were and still are many differences of opinions about it. Again, as in the old, so in the present day, there is a great controversy whether it is good or bad to take animal food or live only on vegetable diet, whether we are benefited or otherwise by taking meat. The besides the question whether it is right or wrong to kill animals has always been a matter of great dispute. One party says that to take away life is a sin and on no account should it be done. The other party replies, a fig for your opinion. It is simply impossible to live without killing. The Shastras also differ and rather confuse one. On this point, in one place of Shastra detects kill animal in yajnas, and again the another place it says never take away the life. The Hindus hold that it is the sin to kill animals except in sacrifice, but one can with impunity enjoy the pleasure of eating meat after animal is sacrificed in the yajna. Indeed, there are certain rules prescribed for the householders in which he is required to kill animals on certain occasions, such as Shraddha and so on. If he omits to kill animals at those times, he is condemned as a sinner. Manu says that those if those that are invited to Shraddha, Manu says that if those that are invited to Shraddha and a certain other ceremonies do not partake of the animal food offered there, they take birth in an animal body in the next life. On the other hand, the Jain, Buddhist, and the Vaishnavas protest, saying we do not believe in the dictates, saying that we do not believe in dictates of such Hindu Shastras. On no account should the taking away the life be tolerated. Ashoka, the Buddhist emperor, we read, punished those who would perform yajna or offer meat to the invited at any ceremony. The position in which the modern Vaishnavas find themselves is rather one of difficulty. Instances are found in the Ramayana Mahabharata of drinking of wine and taking meat by Rama and Krishna, whom they worship as God. Sita Devi vows meat, rice, and thousand jars of wine to the river goddess Ganga. In the West, the contention is whether animal food is injurious to health or not, whether it is more strengthening than vegetable diet or not, and so on. On one party says that those that take animal food suffer for all. Embracing Sita with both his arms, Kakutsha, that is Ram, made her drink pure Maria wine, even as drink Indra takes Sachi, partake as nectar. Servants quickly served flesh meat, variously dressed, and fruits of various kinds for the use of Rama. I saw both of them, Krishna and Arjuna, drunk with Madhvasana, Madhvasava, sweet spirituous liquor made from honey, both adorned with sandal paste, garnered and wearing costly ornaments and beautiful ornaments. Be merciful to us, O goddesses, and I shall on my return home worship thy with the thousand jar of arrack, spirituous liquor, and the rice well dressed with flesh meat Ramayan. One party says that those that take animal food suffer from all sort of bodily complaints. The other contradict this and says that it that is all fiction. If that were true, then the Hindus would have been the healthiest race and the powerful nation, such as English, America, and other, whose principal food is meat, would have succumbed to all sort of maladies and ceased to exist by this time. One says that the flesh of a goat makes the intellect like that of the goat, the flesh of a swine like that of the swine, the fish like that of the fish. The other declares that it can as well be argued that the potato makes the potato like brain. The vegetable makes the vegetable like brain, resembling dull and dead matter. Is it not better to have the intelligence of living animal than to have the brain dull and inert like dead matter? One party says that those things which are in the chemical composition those things which are in the chemical composition of animal food are also equally present in the vegetable. The other ridicules it and exclaims, why, there are in the air too. Go then and live on air only. One argues that the vegetarians are very painstalling and can go through hard and long sustained labor. The other says, if that were true, then the vegetarian nation would occupy the foremost rank, which is not the case. The strongest and the foremost nation being always through that take animal food. Those who advocate animal food content look at the Hindus and Chinamen, how poor they are. They do not take meat, but live somehow on the scanty diet of the rice and all sort of vegetable. Look at their miserable condition. And the Japanese were also in the same plight, but since they commenced taking meat, they have turned over the new leaf. In Indian regiment, there are about a lakh and a half of native sepoys. See how many of them are vegetarian. The best part of them, such as the Sikh and the Gurkhas, are never vegetarian. One party says indigestion is due to the animal food. The other says that it is all stuff and nonsense. It is mostly the vegetarian who suffers from the stomach complaints. Again, it may be vegetable food acts as an effective purgative through the system, but is that any reason that you should induce the whole world to take to it? Whatever one or other may say, the real fact, however, is that the nation who take animal food are always, as a ruler, nobly brave, heroic, thoughtful. The nations who take animal food also assert that in those days when the smoke from yajna used to rise in the Indian sky and the Hindus used to take the meat of the animal sacrificed, then only great religions, geniuses, and intellectual giants were born among them. But since the drift of the Hindus into the Babaji vegetarianism, not one great original man arose from amidst them. Taking this view in account, the meat eaters in our country are afraid to give up their habitual diet. The Arya Samajists are divided amongst them on the point, and the controversy is raging within their fold. One party holding that animal food is absolutely necessary, and the opposite party denounces it as extremely wrong and unjust. In this way, discussion of the conflicting character gives rise to the mutual abuse quarrels and fight are going on. After carefully scrutinizing all sides of the question and setting aside all fanaticism that is rampant on this delicate question of food, I must say that my conviction tend to confirm this view that the Hindus are after all right. I mean the injunction of the Hindu Shastra, which lays down the rule that the food, like many other things, must be different according to the difference of the birth and profession. This is a sound conclusion, but the Hindus of the present days will neither follow these Shastras nor listen to what the great Acharyas thought. To eat meat is surely barbarian and veg food is surely purer. Who can deny that? For him, surely is a strict vegetarian diet whose one end is to lead solely a spiritual life, but he who has the sheer the boat of his life with strenuous labor through the constant life and death struggles and the competition of the world must be of necessity take meat. So long as there will be in human society such a thing as the trump of the strong over the weak, animal food is required, or some other suitable substitute for it has to be discovered. Otherwise, the weak will naturally be crushed under the feet of the strong. It will not do to it will not do to quote solitary instance of the good effect of vegetable food on some particular person or persons. Compare one nation with another and then draw conclusion. The vegetarians again are also divided amongst themselves. Some say that rice, potato, wheat, barley, maize and other starchy foods are of no use. These have been produced by men and are the source of all maladies. Starchy food, which generates sugar in the system, is most injurious to health. Even horses and cows become sickly and diseased if kept within doors and feed on wheat and rice, but they get well again if allowed to gaze freely on the tender and glowing herbage in the meadows. There is very little star system or star substance in grass and other green edible herbs. The orange outtang eats grass and nuts and does not usually eat potato and wheat. But if he ever does so, he eats them before they are ripe. That is, when there is not so much starch in them. Others say that taking roast meat and plenty of fruits and milk is best suited to the attainment of longevity. More especially they who More especially they who take much fruits regularly do not so soon lose their youth, as the acid of fruits dissolve the foul crust from form of the bone, which is mainly the cause of bringing an old age. All these contentions have no idea they are going on unceasingly. Now the judicious view admitted by all in regard to this week's question is to take such food as is substantial and nutritious and at the same time easily digested. The food should be such as contains the greatest nutriment in the small compass and be at the same time quickly assimilable. Otherwise, it has necessarily to be taken in large quantity, and consequently, the whole day is required only to digest it. If all the energy is spent only in digesting food, what will there be left to do other works? All fried things are really poisonous. The sweet vendor shop is that door. In hot countries, less oil and clarified butter, that is ghee, taken the better. Butter is more easily digested than ghee. There is very little substance in the snow white flour. Whole wheat flour is good as food. For Bengal, the style and preparation of food that are still in vogue is our distant village are comparable. What ancient Bengali poet do not find singing the praise of lochi and kachori? This lochi and kachori has been introduced into Bengal from the northwest province, but even there, people take them only occasionally. I have never seen ever even there anyone who lives mainly on things fried in ghee day after day. The chop wrestlers of Mathura are no doubt fond of lochi and sweetmeats, but in a few years Chobbi's power of digestion is ruined and he has to drug himself with appetizing preparations called as churanas. The poor diet of starvation because they can get nothing to eat, and the rich die of starvation because what they take is not food. Any and every stuff eaten is not food. That is real food, which, when eaten, is well assimilated. It is better to fast rather than stuff someone or oneself with anything and everything. In the delicacies of the sweetmeat shops, there is hardly anything nourishing. On the other hand, there is poison. Of old people used to take those injurious thing only occasionally. Now but now the town people, especially those who come from village to live in town, are the greatest sinners in this respect, as they take them every day. That wonder is there that they die prematurely of dyspepsia. If you are hungry, throw away all sweets and things fried in ghee into the ditch and buy a piece worth of mohori or popper rice. That will be cheaper and more nutritious food. It is sufficient food to have rice, dal and whole wheat chapatis, fish, vegetable and milk, but dal has to be taken as the South Indians take it. That is the soup of it only. The rest of the preparation give to the cattle. He may take meat who can afford it, but not making it too rich with hitting spices as the Northwest people do. The spices are no food at all. To take them is abundance in abundance is only due to a bad habit. Dal is a very substantial food but hard to digest. Pea soup prepared of tender peas is easily digested and pleasant to taste. In Paris, this pea soup is the flavored dish. First boil the pea well and then make the paste of them and mix them with water. Now strain the soup through the wire strainer. Take that in which milk is strained and all the outer skin will be separated. Then add some spices such as turmeric, black pepper, etc. according to the taste and broil it with a little ghee in pan, and you get the pleasant and wholesome dal. The meat eaters can make it delicious by cooking it with the head of goat or fish. That we have so many cases of diabetes in India is chiefly due to indigestion. Of course, there are solitary instances in which excessive brain work is the cause, but with the majority it is indigestion. Pot belly is the foremost sign of indigestion. Thus, eating means stuffing oneself that such which one can assimilate its proper food for one for one. Growing thin or fat is equally due to indigestion. Do not give yourself up as lost because some symptoms of diabetes are noticed in you. Those are nothing in our country and should not be taken seriously into account. Only pay more attention to your diet so that you may avoid indigestion. Be in the open air as much as possible and take food, long walks, and work hard. The muscles of the leg should be as hard as iron. If you are in service, take leave when possible and make the pilgrimage to Badrika Ashram in the Himalayas. Badrika Ashram in the Himalayas. If the journey is accomplished on foot through the ascents and descents of 200 miles in the hills, you will see that the ghost of diabetes will disappear or depart from you. Do not let the doctors come near you. Most of them will harm you more than do any good. And so far as possible, never take medicines which in most cases kill the patient sooner than the illness itself. If you can walk all the way from the town to your native village every year during the puja vacation, to be rich in our country has come to be synonymous with being the embodiment of laziness and dependence. One who has to work being supported by another, or one who has to be fed by another, is doomed to be miserable, is the veritable invalid. He who eats cautiously only the finer coats of the lochi, for fear the whole will that the whole will not agree with him, is already dead in life. Is he a man or worm who cannot walk 20 miles at a stretch, who can save one, who invites illness, premature death of his own will? And as for fermented bread, it is also poison. Do not touch it at all. Flour mixed with yeast becomes injurious. Never take any fermented things. In this respect, the prohibition in our Shastras of partaking of any such articles of food is a fact of great importance. Any sweet thing which has turned sour is called in the Shastras Sukta, and that is prohibited to be taken except curd, which is good and beneficial. If you have to take bread, toast it well over the fire.